So good morning, everybody. As I have already shared with you today, the speaker for our session will be Prithvi Shekhar. I have also shared his profile with all of you, a very interesting profile. Had his education across three different countries. He has a dual master's degree, one in India and one in France, and did his PhD from Spain, uh, the University of Madrid, or Madrid, as Spanish people would like to call it. He has been working with L&T for quite some time now. Before that, he was with KPIT. So today he'll be talking about the relevant topics of data science for us. Now I will hand over it to Prithvi so that he can start his session. Uh, Dr. Prithvi, you will have to unmute yourself so that I can see you here and give you the host rights.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I have given you host rights to share the screen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So very good morning, everybody. You will have to bear with the background noise
That's
a
fine.
little bit, right? I have no control over it. My house is very close to a workshop.
Oh, okay. So we are used to all these domestic issues now that so
Right,
all the mixie noises and the cooker whistles have become very common during online classes for us.
right.
Yeah.
But I'll try to keep it as minimum as
No,
possible,
it's fine. It's
right?
fine. It's fine.
While we are doing that, I just wanted to hear out from all of you, what is it that you are expecting? If you can put it up in the chat window, or if you could put it up unmute yourself and speak, either is fine. So I'm going to probably will just spend 5 minutes in that segment. And what are your passions, and what is it that you're looking for specifically with respect to data science and machine learning, and any prior experience you have? You built some cool apps, you started out with something about it, or your final year projects, you've already thought that I want to do something like this. Anything related in the ambit of ideas, implementation in the space of machine learning and data science, please. Over to you guys. You can use the chat window or unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, I think you can do that, guys. And Dr. Prithvi will be more than happy to hear from you. Please go ahead.
And just a cautionary note, if I don't have any chats or any messages, we'll just stay like this till the end of the duration, right?
No. Usually, as you may have observed, today is a very big chilly weather in Bangalore, right? So they I am very sure they would have still not gotten up from their beds. They would have joined uh, from their beds wearing all those blankets. So please come out and enter something in your chat box. I'm very sure you're online, but how many of you are awake and aware is a question. Just to put it in a context, these guys have already completed a course in machine learning, and this is the data science course that they are. Uh, as you know, since you also have an exposure as faculty in engineering college, these final year guys are already placed, and the pandemic has not impacted their placement patterns. In fact, I see that the placement has actually increased this year compared to last year. So I think all of them have gone into this cozy mode of, they already are placed and things are happening coolly for them. So, and most of them have already started their application for their masters because I keep getting requests for recommendation letters in the December time. So the applications have opened up. So I think at least some of you should speak up. Otherwise, this session will not go ahead as Dr. Prithvi said. So it's better that actually I have 156 students in my course, doctor.
Oh, wow.
So, but I have never seen all of them in one session. I only get
Right.
that I get only that many scripts for valuation after the test. You.
Okay.
A typical Indian
Fair
scenario.
enough. I think that now people are starting to slowly come out. I have
Ah,
one question that's been sent to me that said new exciting projects in the field of ML. Okay, we'll cover that. One more person, I'm just not speaking out your name, so please be comfortable, guys, to just shoot out your
yeah, yeah,
messages.
yes, yes.
Right? Somebody wanted to know the journey behind, want to know the story behind your journey. I don't have ideas as such.
No,
Okay.
it's because you have traveled from here to France, and from France you have gone to Mexico. It's like
Right.
not many people do that because US is always the preferred destination of people.
Right.
And
Okay.
Germany, there are people from here who go to Germany, but France, I have very few, but yes. But Spain, I'm encountering for the first time. That I
Right.
should also honestly say that.
Right.
Finland and other Nordic countries fine, but Spain especially first time.
No problem. Let's go ahead. Now that I have something and
Yeah.
there are more questions coming up, now it's picking up. So people have
No, it
started to
just that
start
somebody has
sharing.
to start and it will continue.
Right. So ML has an application in cryptography and information security. That's a question mark. Okay. We have, I don't have first-hand knowledge in data science. If you have to pick one technical problem that was the most difficult for you, explain what it is and how did you approach the problem.
It sounds
Okay.
like an interview question actually.
No issues, but actually it's pretty nice that somebody wanted an insight on, some of the real world problems.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll pick that up. There's so many vacant jobs in the field of data science compared to other roles in India. Why is it the case? Fair questions,
No,
right?
newspaper.
Please, yeah, please keep getting those questions in. I'll start out. So, Professor, how many minutes do we have from now? It's 11,
We
10,
can we
18.
can wind up by 11.
Okay, so we have 10, 18, and I'll try to wind up by in the next, maybe let's say 20, 25 minutes, so that we'll have some additional time for more questions and any questions that are missed out.
Sure,
So we'll
sure.
do that, right? So let me go ahead and share my screen. Uh, okay. Do let me know once you're able to see the screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We are able to see it.
Okay, so I'm going to keep the auto annotation on
Yeah,
just so that at a later point of time, because this session is getting recorded,
yeah.
so at a later point of time, if you would like to reuse it, you could, right? Just give it another 10 seconds, it'll start out. So while it does start out, just give me just the quick high level view of what we're going to cover. It's going to be the approaches to real world data analytics and machine learning. So we're going to, it's not just going to be pure data science, right? It's also going to be how do you create those products? How do you make sure that those products are to the standard, right? So that it can be released into solutions into the society, right? So that's the core focus that we would be covering. So there are a few ambits, I'll cover that. Well, before I jump in there, this is me. Uh, as Professor Krishna was talking about, I did my bachelor's in Bangalore in electronics and communication, then went on to do masters just out of sheer hatred towards being in not a domain of my own, and also pandemic, not a pandemic of a different style. At that point of time, it was the world. What is that? Global economic meltdown. So all of our offers
Yeah, the
standard
Lehman
delayed.
Brothers started it, and it tumbled on from there in 2008, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I literally had the opportunity to either go to higher education or just wait for my offers to be honored, and which actually the company did after 1.5 years. Right, by that point of time, I enrolled into masters. I was doing my master's thesis in France at that point of time. I took the dual degree program. I got a very decent rank of 14 all India for Mahe. So they offered me a scholarship and said that you should go do this higher education program, right? So I did that. That opened up my opportunities to go to France as a dual degree program. I did 6 months in India, 6 months in France. And after that, I had 1 year of internship. So at that point of time, I joined a research lab. So worked on a patent and a few publications. That triggered my entire motivation towards PhD. I applied for a few PhDs and I was selected for the Marie Curie Fellowship of European Union. Uh, and that gave me an opportunity to work on particle accelerators at CERN. So I worked on the problem for basically maintenance of these high energy physics equipment, which were getting high doses of radiation, so which is going to be harmful for people. So the idea was there are different work packages. My work package was modular robots. So I did the entire design, fabrication, validation, verification, and making sure that we have a product that fits the current need. Very challenging problem. During my work there, I was fortunate enough to see a few Nobel laureates at CERN. I was fortunate enough to work in the labs, which was the most highly collaborative. India is partner country at CERN, and I was there when Higgs boson was found. So it was a huge moment for the whole team. But all the physics aside, the engineering is really hard, right? The sole reason being to solve such extremely hard physics problems. It's not straightforward, right? So I did that. You want to know more about me? That's my LinkedIn profile. Please go ahead. You can check me up, right? At this point of time, I thank the opportunity given by Professor Krishna and the college. I do have a lot of passion for teaching. That's exactly what I do in the organization today as part of my roles. So I do teach quite a lot, especially for youngsters like you who come in into the organization. Getting you project ready or customer ready is one of my, uh, a part of my portfolio. The second one is adding value to the existing employees for their upskilling in this domains of model-based design, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, and so on and so forth, right? So while these are some of the things that I do, some of the things that kept me driving and kept me going forward is I really love challenging problems, especially engineering problems. I'll restrict those to engineering problems, not psychological problems or not any other issues, right? But engineering problems is something that I really enjoy doing. And yeah, being part of the society, I think we all would love to leave a mark on the society. So that's part of it. When it comes to hobbies, robotics and automation is a big thing that I really like doing. Apart from that, I do love gardening and cooking, right? So let's get started. So in the current space, the whole reason I gave a little longer explanation about myself is only because I had a question. So you should start correlating. If I have a question, I will elaborate. If I don't have it, I'll skip and keep moving forward, right? So please don't hesitate to shoot out your questions in the chat window. So the major things that we're going to pick up and do are these three segments. The first one is going about data science and how do you do it, and machine learning projects, right? Many of you would have passion, and somebody asked the question, there are a lot of jobs and why is it not getting filled, and so on and so forth, right? So let me give a small background there. In the last 10 years, data science has really picked up quite a bit, and there's a lot of boom over there. For the first time, it was there around for a long time, but for the first time, we have the tools, the processes, the impact that can be measured as of today, business impact, right? And we are all surrounded by them. Simple examples: if you see Google Translator, right, from one language to another language, that's machine learning and natural processing, right? If you do the whole part of your Google Maps, that takes you from one destination to another destination, that entire traceability of which route, which path will give you how much time, and all of that is more or less today machine learning, right? Your photographs that are getting auto tagged, that's machine learning, right? The amount of machine learning that we have surrounding us is insane, right? And these are just a few things. Today, many of the companies are using data science to drive their market strategies, right? What would actually work, and that's one side of it on market strategies. The other side is actual tracking and taking decisions based on data. And this is the reason data science is in a boom, right? And the biggest impact for that is today processing has made it possible to happen at a shorter duration of time. The turnaround time for this is really shrunk quite a lot, right? So we'll just quickly sneak peek about it. We're not going to cover the part that I just spoke about, but how do you approach that problem and how do you work around that? And what are the processes that you need to apply to this so that you make a wonderful product? Because all of you are future generation of contributors to the society, and each one of you are amazing engineers. So the idea is you create fantastic products that are in line, right, to the expectations of the market. So just on that, I mean, I'm pretty sure that if you create a pen and the pen only writes 5 times out of 10 times you want to write with it, even I mean, I don't know how many of us would be happy to buy their product. I think very few, right? Although it might be a little bit more expensive, I would really love the reliability of the product to be much higher. So that's a huge transformation for each one of you once you hit industry. It moves from just creating experiments and exploring and fun to actually creating worthwhile products to the society that are reliable, because reliability is one of the key factors for any product, right? So we'll see that a bit of processes. I'm not going to cover a new stuff. I'm just going to reiterate what you already know, right? And put it in an industry perspective and flip the story. Again, due to the shortage of time, I'm going to shrink a lot of packaging I have that I can put in, but provided you ask the questions, right? You don't, and then it's going to be, very simple. Hi guys, bye guys. Okay. And why am I being so adamant about it? I do value the statement that if what you're presenting does not add value, it's better not to present, right? So it's a waste of energy for all sides, your time, my time, everybody's, and let's not do that. So the last segment that we'll be covering is accelerators and measurement of impact. If you have through the session picked up something and you want to, really want to do it, how do you go about it? How do you do it? And how can you accelerate? I mean, within the next, probably if you sit on it tight, the next 10 days, you have fantastic application out. Trust me, you can, right? Just 10 days. That's all it takes, right? Provided you have a workflow, you have an idea, you have an approach, right? I'm going to give you all of those tools, provided I'm going to deep dive into them, provided you ask questions. If not, I'm just going to skim through all of them. Right. So now that I made such a big pitch, I would really love to see what is it that I have on my chat from all of you.
Okay, I think they are sending the individual messages. That's good because I'm not seeing so that is fine. They're sending you direct messages, I guess.
I think that the majority are sending in private messages.
Yeah, that's better.
Nobody's sending in everybody message. This is very weird. This is the first time I've seen only private messages come in. Normally,
guys do that in my classes. These guys are in this online session from what past 3-4 months, so they're very used to all the modalities here.
Okay. So normally, whenever such sessions are conducted, always public messages that everybody sees.
Quite embarrassing sometimes also.
So guys, my suggestion: never be embarrassed. You're asking a question, right?
Yeah.
So that means to say you've thought about it. At least you've spent a couple of seconds on it. You're definitely better than the next person beside you who's not even asking a question, right? So please don't hesitate to ever ask questions. And now that you're entering the space of corporate world or future citizens, right? Asking questions gives you more clarity. So please do ask questions, right? Don't worry about it. So one of the questions that was asked is a large part of data science aimed towards advertising companies? Not at all. I think it's a very, very small segment that is towards advertising companies, right? Today, I think data science has become the way of data interpretation, representation, data decision making, right? And that's a huge part of what we are seeing in today's world. And in my company, at least at L&T, we do use a lot of data science. I'll not name the customers, not what we do for them, but a lot of decision making for customers comes through data science, right? We already had dashboards way back. Now we are just introducing the analytics part of it, which makes it so data science or data plus analytics becomes data science, right? So now we are introducing a lot of analytics so that decision making can be done from all quarters. Let it be at a leadership level, let it be at an engineer level, let it be at customer level, let it be at utilization level, at all levels, right? So yeah, it's all around. There's one more question that has come in. Has there been a situation where you couldn't come to any solid conclusion from a data set? There have been, right? A very, very beautiful question, actually. There have been many cases in which that has happened, predominantly because the data was inconclusive. What do I mean by that? There's just too little vectors and variance in the vectors to understand, to bring out any meaningful outcome from it, right? If the data is too random or even random, we can generate patterns out of it, or analyze patterns out of it. Quite a lot of techniques that was part of your syllabuses that I've seen, whether it is the linear regression, the random forests, the k-means, or the supervised and unsupervised learning. All of these will help you figure out something. But if you have very few vectors and you're not making head and tail out of it, then yeah, you can't really reach conclusion. It's always better to have more data than less data. Okay. So coming back to the other few questions that were there, the reason we have a lot of, there's a lot of hype about data science jobs is because, yeah, it has become the forefront today and we are seeing reaping of those benefits. The wave is going to be just like any other wave. It's cyclical. It's going to pick up and then, slowly taper down. The reason is by that point of time, everything would have matured. Right, and then you just need to tweak and tween it. So I'm going to give you a few tools that have already come into the market that are that really make data science child's play. Right, people don't even understand what they are doing and they're just running it through all of them and getting results and then presenting saying that yeah, this is the better method, and it flows through because majority who are listening to you also don't understand data science sometimes, right? So they're only interested in the results of what is coming out. So even when we don't understand the math behind it, people have started to showcase capabilities, right? Okay. So ML has applications in cryptography and information security for sure. I think I have not seen personally anything that's there in cryptography and information security yet, but I do see that as long as the data sets are large enough, I think we'll reach there, right? Especially in reinforced learning that's coming up in a big way. Pretty sure it can be leveraged for information security. The reason is you keep giving it good data sets and telling that this information breach and not a breach. It'll keep evolving. It'll keep changing the rules of the game so that you get higher out throughput, right? All right. So let's get going. So the first segment, going about data science and ML projects. I'm going to plug in these four segments. The first one is technology and knowledge. I'm not going to even touch it. You're already aware of Python. You do use Jupyter notebooks or PyCharm or something like that. You have gone through a course called data science. How much how much you guys have learned in it, I'm not going to question it. I'll leave it to you, right? Because only you know how much you have learned. If you do want to apply it, you really need to understand what you're doing, right? If you have any doubts, one of the resources that I just quickly found for you guys is called SoloLearn. It does have a data science course. It does have a machine learning course. It gives you with code snippets. It'll give you step-by-step progression, right? With all of your guys' capabilities, I think it's not going to be tough for you to log in, go through the segments that you want to go through, and then get certified and apply those learnings into applications. So technology and knowledge, I know that you will figure it out. Process, I think you would have had a course. Professor Krishna, help me out. Have they gone through a course called SDLC as part of engineering?
Yes, yes, yes. SDLC is covered, and as you rightly pointed out, Python is something which has become, if not mother tongue, the second language for most of them, because Jupyter Notebooks is something they keep using. And in this course also, we have been doing a lot of coding. In fact, I've asked all the students to take up a case study in Teams, which they have done. And after this session, I wanted to tell you, but now the context has come. I'm telling you that later we'll be inviting you also to be the part of panelists to evaluate the case studies they have done. So they have taken some
Right.
cases and they are doing all the processes that we discuss in data science. So yes, they are
Okay.
aware of the entire pipeline.
Okay. So just on a side note, guys, I'll not be part of panel if you don't follow all the things that we covered today. Okay.
I'm very sure we'll be doing that.
Right. So I think the session is getting recorded. You can replay it at a later point of time if you have any queries and if you want
Yes,
to
yes.
go over it. I want to share quite
Session
a
will
lot.
be available to them, and I'll be sharing the link with you also after session once
Right.
I upload it in our repository.
Sure.
Yeah.
And my request is there are a lot of resources over here. I'm going to share the deck also with Professor Krishna, who is further going to share it across with you guys.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah.
So when it comes to processes, you are already aware of SDLC, and one of the most, the today's world goes with CI/CD, right? Continuous integration, continuous deployment. Not a great, something that has to be feared about. It's very simple. I'll show you a couple of examples. There's a lot of things that are already available for you. So in SDLC, the core that always runs around is requirements, design, test plan, and implementation. And implementation, I've just put it CI/CD. Okay, so it's really important before out that you clearly carve out your requirements, your design, your test plan, and your CI/CD. Right? Do set up. You're all think of yourself as warriors. If you don't have the right tools, you will definitely not be able to cut through. Right? If you want to cut through maybe even a jungle or a forest, if you don't have the right weapon or the tool to cut through, right, it's going to be a lot more challenging and painful, right? So please always focus on your tools. Tools are there to help you succeed, not the other way around, right? The third one is we're going to talk about the leverage existing implementations and open data sets, right? Let's get going. So this is SoloLearn. If you see here, you have machine learning DS with Python. I'm pretty sure that you would have already gone through majority of the content through your course. If not, you can re-leverage it and recheck it. With respect to processes, the two most processes that are being applied in the industry quite a lot are the V method and the other one is the Agile method, right? So this is the way forward, especially on software development. We are doing a lot more on the Agile segment. If you don't know about it, there are good resources online for you to explore. If anybody wants it, put it in the chat window. I'll give some resources. So tools in the different stages from an industry standpoint. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but we do have requirements management being done by a lot of different tools, very expensive. UML tools, please don't waste your time in drawing the UMLs by, in PowerPoint or others. There are specific tools that are there for you, whether it's draw.io or, star UML and so on and so forth. They're quite useful. With respect to automation and testing, you have the Google Test, especially for Python. You have the PyTest also. So these are things that will help you do your unit testing frameworks on top of it, so that if whenever you want to do repetition and regression, it happens perfectly, right? And with respect to code analysis, if you're working through Python, I don't think these would be valid. But you have PEP8 and PEP8 and other static code analysis tools, if I'm not wrong, for Python 2, right? With respect to continuous integration frameworks, we have Jenkins, GitLab CI, and others. For source code management, one of the most, the one that's picked up quite a bit is Git. You should, it's free and you should leverage it. For bug tracking, I've given a few, which is industry standards, but I think you can use the issue tracking on the Git itself, right? Now, why am I trying to focus a little bit into CI part? The reason is in industry that's the only way we do implementations, right? Especially large projects, and it needs to be sustainable. This is the only way. And today, the whole world of CI/CD has become so easy to deploy, and you should leverage what's available on GitHub. GitHub has added another element called GitHub Actions, which you can leverage, or else other traditional approaches, right? The whole concept and the aspect of it is you check in your code. If you're 10 people working in the project, each one of you don't need to share your code through, what I used to do way back in the day in floppy drives, right? And maybe a little later into emails and then a little later into USBs, right? And then we realized this is nonsense, right? It's just too painful. And that's when we had SVNs and Git coming in so that you can develop code across platforms, across form factors, across locations, across time zones. Once you check in your code, everybody can sync up that code, build that code in their offline systems, and then we used to work around. Then the cloud infrastructure became awesome, and then everything moved into the cloud, and you could, every time you checked in, it triggers a hook to build, and then unit test framework is set up so that regression testing is done on the cloud, so that from one check-in or 1 month back to today, there is no downfalls. There's only upside that's going on, and you detect your errors quickly, right? And then you keep continuing with the rest of it, right? So again, CI is the way forward, and it'll hardly take you half a day to figure that out, right, Max? With respect to tools, I was talking about GitHub Actions, and this is something that I'm recommending for you guys in your stage because it's free, right? So there are two repos that I've created for you to explore. It's open, it's public repos. It's nothing to do with my nature of work that I do in the company. This is just hobby projects that I had picked up long back and then set them up. So this particular one, that's the first one that you see, is taking you to a page which will talk to you about how do you actually set this up. How do you set up build? How do you set up code coverage, code review, and all of that stuff. The second link is actually a full-fledged project uh, that we just did with respect to vehicle diagnostics. So it's about you picking up uh, a car, and in the car we have a sensor that will take the data from the car as well as your mobile phone, merge both the data along with camera data and run it through. The code works. It's a fully building system. You can definitely go ahead and explore this. Just need to search for this handle name and probably or this, right? Either one. I'm going to just, while that's there and you guys are searching about it, I'm just going to view back my chat if there are any more questions. It seems that a few coming.
There is a message, Prithvi, which has come to everyone, so asking for the same thing which you are dealing with right now.
Yeah,
But I
so
think the
we'll go a
personal,
little bit more on
yeah,
Sandeep's question on what tools, libraries, environments would you recommend and why. I'll go into that, Sandeep. There's one more question. What is the most widely used ML algorithm in industry use case? I think it'll depend on the problem statement because every single ML algorithm has its own advantages. These are, please think of it as different tools, guys. If you have a Swiss Army knife, right, you have different tools in it, right? And each one of them is specific to a particular job. For a puncher, you can't use a puncher to do a screwdriver job, right? That there for its own advantages and disadvantages. But if you're talking about major classes, I think we started out with supervised learning, then we moved on into unsupervised learning, and now we are doing a lot more into reinforcement learning, right? A lot of the new next generation systems are through reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning on top level is just this much. If you do good work, if you have a small cousin around you, if the cousin does good work, they get rewarded with a chocolate. If they don't do good work, they get reprimanded, right? And by this nature, you reinforce good behavior, and the kid eventually becomes doing only good behavior. So that's reinforcement learning in a bucket, and that's what is picking up quite a bit nowadays. Apart from that, the traditional segments will always remain supervised learning and unsupervised learning, right? Okay. So with respect to tools, I'm doing the first segment, which is the online segment. Let's do a little bit more over there. So if you want to set it up, whether you want to do Visual Studio Code, which is open source, or Eclipse or PyCharm or something else, please do make sure that you set it up, right? And there are a lot of cool features. Make the tools work for you guys, right? Whether it's to connect it through Gits and auto import, auto annotation, variable viewing, and all of that. Please make sure that the tool does the job for you, right? Now let's move into the next segment, which is leverage, right? And in here you'll see all the accelerators and all the other libraries that are really cool that have come up in the recent past, and how do you go about these problems, right? So I think these are the two things that I want to share with you. Always break down a problem, right? Pick a problem. There are enough problems around us, right? The world is filled with problems and waiting for a champion to come along to solve it. The only difference between you and others would be you should complete your problem, right? Because please don't think that you're the only one that's going to pick up a problem, right? Everybody in life would have seen a problem. The only people who act on it actually become successful, right? If you take Elon Musk, for example, he just acted on three fundamental problems, and he's now the only $3 billion company owner in the world, the single person who owns $3 billion companies, right? So you would have had similar fantastic ideas, you just didn't act on it. So I'm just pushing you, you pick a problem, act on it, right? Try to solve it and get the thrill of it and then take it to the next level. So how do you approach that? And there are enough problems around. So let's pick up a problem and break it down into the 4 Ws. What is the problem about? Where is it impacting us? When does it impact and why does it impact? Right? This will really help you to understand and precisely break down that problem. Once we have done that, how do you solve the problem? Right? You really need to create a workflow. And that workflow starts from data generation to analysis to outcome and repetition and ensuring that all the corner cases are taken care of and all the big examples are done. While you're doing that workflow, how you're going to go about it in different stages, you also need to pick up to identify your technologies and tools, right? And again, there's no one tool that fits all. Just keep reinforcing that. But I'll show you a few examples for your level to start out with. If I myself have learned quite a lot from them, I've used some of them, and I feel that they would add value to you. So this slide, we're going to spend the next probably 5 minutes because this is a little heavy. I want to make sure that you all understand the significance of this. So how do you identify a data set, whether you create it yourself or you reuse, right? Just give me a second. Let me get a pen out. So what is self-creation, right? So you have the sensors and to generate the data. One of the best ones for people here with Android phones is an app called Andro Sensor. It'll be able to get you 17 sensors data from your phone. That is 3-axis accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer, all the compass, and acceleration, all of that details. Then nowadays phones have got step counters, right? The way they do it is with the accelerometer, right? And you have a light, you have a proximity sensor, you have a sound sensor, you have so many things. All of that you can get, right? That is, if you want to build your own data sets, please pick it up and then do it. If you want to reuse data sets, right, there is a lot of data sets that are available, right? And please pick your passion. I don't know what your passions are, but I'm just guessing. If somebody is into stock market, there is enough stock market data. Somebody is into health. I just given only health example because COVID is the one that's going around. COVID is not the biggest problem, frankly speaking. If you see before COVID, uh, road accidents used to kill a person every 7 seconds. 7 seconds, guys, in the world. One person used to die. So that's a huge number, and very few people have done much about it, right? Government regulations have come in, but still, I think Corona actually, dropped all of those things quite a lot, right? For example, thefts, and just flipping the story in the pandemic situation, just saying that there's also another side to the coin. It's not just all of us locked down in houses and working from homes or remotely to work and so on and so forth, right? So yeah, seeing the positive side, right? So while you have these, how do you go about it, right? So what is the foundations for it? So if you want to build an app which is cut across for all form factors, it's going to work. HTML5 is a decent platform, right? Kindly just while I'm talking, please do go ahead and Google this up, Heroku. It's one of the hosting platforms which is free, and you can actually host your own app, right, for free, which is fantastic. And that app will work across phones, tablets, desktops, Linux, Windows, everything, right? Heroku. Uh, there are others too, but they're more paid versions. But this one I have used and it's free. And if you want to do any cool project, please do leverage it. And there's enough documentation on that page for you to go about building it. All of you guys would have done HTML, CSS, JavaScript as part of your course. So I think you can build, even if data science is not your takeaway from this session, you should build your own solutions with this. Right? Second one, if you're building it offline or online, so please treat it as offline and online. You really have to go to this resource. This is fantastic resource, right? Kaggle. Kaggle has been around for the last 10 years, and in the last 3 years, Google has already is taken it under its wing. And you have 3 or 4 things that are very useful there. The first one is Kaggle datasets, right? So you have fantastic datasets available. That's one. The second one is it's called kernels. That's basically code snippets of applications, right? That's very, very powerful. And people have actually done it, right? And they also host challenges worldwide, and people break down the problem and give a solution and win those challenges. Very, very popular in the space of data science and machine learning, right? And the last one is it really has got a fantastic number of implementations, existing implementations. At this point of time, I want to stop sharing and actually show you the website, right? Because I think it'll add a lot of value for you guys just to get you started. Uh, just give me a second, folks. I need to pick this up. I need to type it up also.
Just a point to add, Prithvi, all the 10 groups which are adding, which are working on their assignments in data science course, all of them have picked up their data sets from Kaggle. So every day we spend quite a lot of time in the class discussing data sets from Kaggle.
Oh, fantastic. But the challenge then comes to you, professor, to evaluate them because there's enough
Yes.
for there to copy paste.
Yeah, I know. That is why I'm taking help from all of you guys.
Right, there's quite a lot that's already there. So if you've already done Kaggle, I don't think there's need for me to go over it, right? But my humble submission to all of you is you should participate in some of the challenges, right? That'll really, give you a benchmark of where do you stand against everybody else in the world. And it does give you the entire build framework, implementation framework on Jupyter Notebook with GPU, right? Actually, let me show the next one too. I had another tool that got recently released. It's called, I think, PyCaret. If you're doing an offline implementation, this is a open source low code machine learning library for all the people who don't really love or you're smart guys. You're not hard workers. You're smart workers, which is all of your generation, right? This is a low code framework. What does a low code framework mean is everything is already preset for you. You just have to pull it and it'll work out of the box, right? There's a lot less coding for you to work with, right? So what does it do? You have all of this, and then you have some examples of how do you build it. It really does have quite a lot of examples to implement, right? And you can see some of the things that are already there, right? Quite useful, right? And especially if you have your assignments, I don't know how Professor Krishna is going to evaluate you, but smarter way is get your data set, run it through PyCaret, it'll automatically throw you results. Don't tell anybody that I told you, right? But that's not the fun in the story. Well, you can get that to get you excited in the case studies and projects that you're working on. Humble submission. Please do understand the math behind it, because that makes you different, right? Very few people go to the core, and those people will always shine as your career start progressing in data science, right? If you don't understand what's happening, what is a distribution graph, what is normal probability, what is skewness, what is all of these things, Proteus, and so on and so forth, it becomes hard for you to interpret that data, right? I know that we have a lot of frameworks for machine learning, whether it's neural networks or otherwise, but why is it doing it? What is the probability matrix? What is probability distribution there? Why is it coming up, right? Euler's formula, and so on and so forth, Bayesian formula, and so on and so forth. These really add value, right? Okay, so this is one more that I wanted to show you, and the few more cool things that are there. But I thought that you guys will get excited with something that's low coding, and that'll do the majority of the job for you. And just one of the reasons why I'm saying that we are in the upsurge of getting more data science jobs, and then it'll stabilize there, and then it'll actually start dipping down. The reason is all of these automated frameworks will come in that'll do the job for us to do it. Right. I think I am running short of time. So I have only one more slide. I'll just wrap it up quickly, guys. And then we'll come back to the questions. So this is the entire CI framework that we have picked up. You can go through and just Google this up. You will get it. It's a pretty cool one. I do want to show it to you, but if time permits only, when the questions are happening, then I can do that. So let's move on into questions. I think I overshot my commitment by 6 minutes.
No,
That's
that's fine.
okay.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, we'll have
So over to you
to.
guys for questions.
Yes, yes. Please shoot the questions. I'll have to unfortunately close the session at 11 because the other session should start. That's the only limitation I have. So you can please ask your questions, guys. And the video will be uploaded soon. I think after I close the session in 5 to 10 minutes, the video will be uploaded. So as all of you know, the link is the same which all of you guys use for referring to the my course lecture. So it will be there. Yeah, do you have any questions, Danuja? Danuja, you have yeah. Yeah. If you have questions, please shoot it to Prithvi. We'll wait for next 2 minutes and then we'll say the thank you things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's the repo that
Yeah,
I mean,
yes, yes,
we
yes.
built, guys. So
Yeah,
you
we
have
got
the
it.
entire CI segment plugged in over there, right? And all the code about it, everything is open source, right? And we really leveraged issues. We have not really done that, but we leveraged who's going to do what, how are we going to go about it, whether we want to do wiki of it, what segment do we want to do. There's a nice cool tool called Streamlit that you want to try out. Pilinting, I told Pepe, we also have pilinting, folder structure, everything, right? So irrespective of what happens, it's going to be really cool. And the team that actually worked in this, all of these folks, today are really placed and working in the space of data science, and they actually leveraged only this project, right? They and actually there was a company from US that actually took the open source license from us to actually implement it in one of their solutions for this. There was an IEEE publication that came out of this project, and one person got selected for a PhD full time with funding in UK. Right? So these were some of the things that are there. I think one of your college students is also here. She had come to do internship with us at some point of time, and post that we worked this out. Post she finished her internship, she went back to college. She contributed to this. I think it's Ashwini, if I'm not wrong. Okay.
I love that there is a lot of documentation which is also available. Prithvi. Otherwise, usually whenever we see the GitHub repos, it will usually be very brief, 1 or 2 lines description, and then only the files listings. So it's the first time that I'm seeing that there is a lot of documentation. Also, in the first glance itself, I am very happy. We will definitely go through it, and I think it's time for us to wind up the session. It was I expected, Rajesh had told me, Sola had told me that it would be a good session, but it was overwhelming. I think all the guys also liked it. As I said, we'll get back to you with the projects that students are doing so that you can help us evaluating that. Uh, I hope that will be an interesting exercise for you also. I'm very sure I'm getting some direct messages from students also. They're all asking me for the video link of the session before the session has stopped. That surely shows that they have some interest in the topic. I will also share the link with you, Prithvi, in next 30 minutes. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Take care, guys. All the very best. Have a fantastic future, and do build an amazing, next generation for us. Society is in your hands.
Yes.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.